You are waiting at a train station when a man sits down beside you. His skin is a deep, rich black, but his eyes are a pale, almost translucent gray, and his hair is pure white, even though his face looks barely 30. He notices you staring and smiles. You ask where he's from. He says a small village in the highlands of Papua New Guinea, one of the last places on Earth where his specific language is still spoken by anyone alive. You talk for 20 minutes. He signs his name in your notebook with his left hand, in handwriting so precise it looks engraved. Then your alarm goes off. It was just a dream. You lie there for a second, oddly fixated on the question that dream left behind. Does a person like that actually exist? Statistically, yes. But that opens up a much bigger question. Out of the 8 billion humans alive on Earth right now, what would the single rarest person actually look like? To find out, we're going to build that person, trait by trait, using real biology and real population data. And by the end, the number we land on will be almost impossible to comprehend. Let's start with where this person comes from. There are roughly 7,000 distinct ethnic and linguistic groups on Earth, but human population is wildly concentrated. Han Chinese alone make up close to 18% of every person alive, more than 1.4 billion people from a single group. But at the opposite extreme are populations so small they barely register in global statistics. The Sentinelese of the Andaman Islands number somewhere between 50 and 400 people, completely isolated from the outside world. The Kawahiva of the Brazilian Amazon are estimated at fewer than 30 living individuals. The Spinifex people of Australia's western desert numbered only around 200 at last count. For our rarest human, will place their origin within a group of just 500 people, set against a global population of 8 billion. That's 500 divided by 8 billion, which works out to roughly 1 in 16 million. Already before we've touched a single physical trait, this person has a 0.0000625% chance of existing. Now let's give them a body that's statistically extraordinary, starting with pigmentation. Albinism is caused by mutations affecting the genes responsible for melanin production, the pigment that determines skin, hair, and eye color. In someone with complete albinism, that production is severely reduced or entirely absent, resulting in very pale or white skin, silver or white hair, and eyes that can appear pale blue, gray, or even faintly pink depending on how light passes through the iris. Globally, this occurs in roughly 1 in 20,000 people. Multiply that against our ethnicity figure, and our person is now sitting at approximately 1 in 320 billion. Next, the eyes themselves. Most discussions of rare eye color stop at green, which sits around 1 in 50 people globally. But there's a far rarer condition called complete heterochromia, where a person has 2 entirely different colored eyes, one blue and one brown, for example. It typically results from uneven melanin distribution during development and is present from birth. It's almost always harmless and doesn't affect vision. The odds of having it sit around 0.06% or roughly 1 in 1,667 people. Folding that into our growing probability pushes our rarest human into territory most people never think about in daily life, well past the point where intuition can even grasp the scale. Now let's add handedness. This sounds mundane compared to eye color or pigmentation, but the biology underneath it is genuinely strange. Handedness is partly heritable, yet no single gene controls it. And even identical twins who share nearly all their DNA differ in handedness about 20% of the time. It's tied to brain lateralization. Most right-handed people process language predominantly in the brain's left hemisphere, while left-handed people frequently show more bilateral processing, with both hemispheres sharing the workload. In many cultures throughout history, social and educational pressure pushed naturally left-handed children to use their right hand instead, which means historical data likely understates true left-handedness. Even with that correction, a conservative modern estimate puts it at around 10%, or 1 in 10 people. Combine ethnicity, albinism, heterochromia, and left-handedness, and our person's existence sits at approximately 1 in 5.33 quadrillion. We are already past the point where this number means anything intuitively. So let's keep going, because the next traits are where it gets genuinely strange. Most humans perceive color using 3 types of cone cells in the retina, each tuned to roughly blue, green, and red wavelengths. Your brain blends signals from these 3 cone types to construct the roughly 1 million distinct colors you can see. But a small number of people are tetrachromats, meaning they carry a 4th functional cone type, tuned to wavelengths between red and green. This extra channel of information allows some tetrachromats to distinguish up to 100 million colors, an entire dimension of visual experience most humans literally cannot access. Tetrachromacy is almost exclusively found in women because the gene involved sits on the X chromosome. Women carry two X chromosomes, which means they can inherit both a standard and a mutated version of the relevant gene, sometimes producing a functional fourth cone type. Men with only one X chromosome essentially cannot develop it. Around 12% of women carry the genetic mutation associated with tetrachromacy, but only a small fraction of those actually develop functional four-cone vision. Researchers estimate true functional tetrachromacy occurs in roughly 1 in 40,000 women, or about 1 in 80,000 people across the entire population. For our final trait, we're leaving the body and entering the mind. Hyperthymesia, formerly known as highly superior autobiographical memory, is the ability to recall almost every day of your life in extraordinary specific detail. Not just major life events, but ordinary Tuesdays, specific conversations, what the weather was like, what you were wearing. The condition was first formally documented in 2006 by neuroscientist James McGaugh, after a woman named Jill Price came to him describing an uncontrollable, continuous replay of her own past, every single day layered on top of the last with no ability to forget any of it. Since then, fewer than 100 confirmed cases have been identified worldwide. Even generous estimates that account for likely undiagnosed individuals place the global total at only a few hundred people. That makes hyperthymesia one of the rarest documented neurological traits on Earth. Conservatively, we'll place the odds at 500 out of 8 billion, or roughly 1 in 16 million. So let's put our rarest human together. This person belongs to an isolated ethnic group of roughly 500 people. They have albinism, they have complete heterochromia, they are left-handed. They are a functional tetrachromat, perceiving 100 million colors most of us will never see. And they remember almost every day of their life in vivid, inescapable detail. Multiply every one of those probabilities together, and the final odds of this exact person existing land at approximately 1 in 6.83 septillion. It's worth sitting with how large that number actually is. The number of stars in the entire observable universe, every star in every galaxy we can detect, is estimated at roughly 1 septillion. Our number is nearly 7 times larger than that. If you tried to express it physically using grains of sand, you would need the sand from over 910,000 Earths to reach a pile that large. And this still isn't even the rarest person you could theoretically construct. We haven't touched rare blood types, like the handful of people on Earth with Rh null blood, sometimes called golden blood because it's compatible with almost anyone, but can only receive from a few dozen known donors worldwide. We haven't touched rare genetic mutations affecting pain perception, congenital conditions affecting muscle density, or the almost infinite combinations of less dramatic traits that quietly compound the same way. There are simply too many to fold into one video. But here's the actual point underneath all this math. Every single trait we use to build this impossibly rare person exists somewhere in the 8 billion people alive today, scattered, mostly unconnected, mostly unremarkable on their own. Being left-handed isn't rare. Having pale eyes isn't rare. It's the combination, layered improbability stacked on improbability that produces something almost statistically impossible. And that's true of you too. Not because you have all 5 of these specific traits, but because the actual combination of genetics, timing, environment, and chance that produced you, specifically as you exist right now, is its own version of this calculation. Somewhere in your own genome, your own upbringing, your own accumulated experiences, sits a combination just as improbable as the one we built today. There are plenty of fish in the sea, but mathematically, statistically, undeniably, there is no one else who beat the exact odds you did.